Okay, before we get started on 26, there was a mistake on this. I had written 7 and it says 17, so it does end up being 25.5. This is on lesson 25. Okay, let's look at 26. So if we want to factor these, the first thing we're going to do is put them in descending order. Then we're going to set up two sets of parentheses. We know to get x squared, we're going to do x and x. Then what we want to do is we want to write down all the different combinations that would give us a negative 36. So we start with the first one, and then we go to the last one. So it's a negative 9 and a positive 4, or it could be a positive 9 and a negative 4. It could be 6 and negative 6, or it could be negative 6 and 6. It could be 12 and negative 3, it could be negative 12 and 3. It could be 36 and 1, or it could be, negative 1. It could be negative 36 and positive 1. Okay, so what you did is you wrote down all the different factors that gives you a negative 36. Then you look to see if you add them up, which one will give you this number in front, which is a positive 5. And that's going to be this one right here. So you're going to use a positive 9 and a negative 4. And that is factored. So let's try it with this one. So first of all, it's already in descending order. But the problem with this one is that we have a common factor we need to factor out. Also, in addition to that, this first one has to be positive. So I'm not going to just factor out an x, I'm going to factor out a negative x, because then when I factor it out of this, I get a positive x squared. Now that's going to be a negative 17, so that when I multiply them together, I get a positive x. And I want a negative here, so that's going to be positive 72. Now, I want to factor this part right here. So I have done the greatest common factor. Now I'm going to do, this is called trinomial factoring. Okay, I know I got an x and an x to get this. Then the possibilities of a 72. Well, we know it could be 72 and 1. Now remember, you're going to have to add them together and get a negative 17. So that ain't going to work. It could be two negatives, but that still ain't going to work. Okay, so as you think through all the possibilities, if you remember that 9 times 8 is 72. Now if they're both positive, it'll give me a positive 17. But if they're both negative, it'll give me a negative 17. But when I multiply them, it gives me a positive. So that's what it is. So this is factored. So let's do this one. First of all, it needs to be put in descending order. And it has a common factor of a 2. Now I need to factor what's inside. So I know that for a 30, I can multiply 10 times 3, 30 times 1, and 5 times 6. So if I use 5 and 6 and I add them together, I get a positive 11, but I want it to be negative. So they would have to both be negative to give me a negative one. And that works out okay, because when I multiply two negatives, I get a positive. So that's it. So let's look at this one. First of all, we need to put it in descending order. Then we need to factor out the common factor. So there's a 6 in all of them, and there's an x in all of them. So it's going to leave x squared, negative 2x, and negative 3. Okay, then to factor this, I'm going to have an x and an x. To get a 3, the only way I can get a 3 is a 3 and a 1. To get a negative, it's either that one's negative or that one's negative. I want it to be a negative 2 when I add them, so I'm going to use these two. Okay, flip it over. These again are similar triangles from geometry. So it's this smaller triangle here, and then the overall big one. They both share this angle right here, so by angle, they're similar. So I know then that the little triangle, 14 and 48 in C. So the 14 goes with the 21. So I'm going to say 21 is to 14. I'm going to do big to little. And this side of the big one is B plus C. That's the big one. The little one is C. This side of the big one is 48 plus A, and the little one is 48. Okay, now you can see that we have three variables, so that's not going to work too well. So let's look at it again and see if there's anything we can do. Well, as you look at it, this smaller triangle, you could do Pythagorean theorem on it. So that means that 14 squared plus 48 squared equals c squared. So you're going to square each one of those. 14 squared is 196, and 48 squared is 2,304. So you're going to add those together, and you get 2,500 equals c squared. Now, to get c, I need to take the square root of both sides. So to take the square root of that so I can get c, I have to take the square root of this. And that's going to give me 50. So I know that this one's 50. Now I can replace this with a 50 here and here. Okay, so now I only have one variable here, and I could use it with that. Again, this can be reduced. 3 goes into both of them. So, 7 goes into both of them. Goes in this 3 times, goes in this 2 times. So I'm going to say 3 is to 2, as b plus 50 is to 50. Cross multiply. So I have 2 times b plus 50. I'm going to have to do distributive property with that one. That's 2b plus 100. So 50 is 2b, and b is 25. Now I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to use 3 over 2 with this one, 48 plus a. So I'm going to cross multiply. 48 times 3 is 144. And on this side, I'm going to have to do distributive property. So this is 96 plus 2a. So you take your 144 and subtract 96, and you get 48. Divide by 2, and you get 24. Okay? Always make sure you look back at what you're supposed to find, that you found all of them. Okay, so on this one, we can see it looks very much like that one. And we can see right off the bat that we could go ahead and find c with Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do that. 20 squared plus 48 squared equals c squared. So that's 400. We just did 48 squared. So this is 2704. So if you take the square root of both sides, you get the c is 52. Okay, so now I know that a goes with 20. I know that a is the big one. So on this side, the whole side is b plus 52, and it goes with the 52 and the little one. This whole side is 24 plus 48. So that's 72. That's the biggest one, and the small one is 48. Okay? So now I think we could reduce this some, okay? Actually, I think, 24 goes into both of them, I believe. So 24 goes in that 3 times and goes into that 2 times. So then I'll have a is to 20, as 3 is to 2. So 2a equals 60, and a would be 30. Then b plus 52 is to 52, as 3 is to 2. Cross multiply. 2 times b plus 52 equals 3 times 52. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply 3 times 52. We'll get 156 here. When we do distributive property over here, we get 2b plus 104. So if we take 156 and we subtract 104, we're going to get 52. So 2b equals 52, so b is 26. So I found a, and I found b, and I found c up here. Hope that's helpful.